Hi everyone, I'm Emily and my persuasive speech is on school uniforms. Chief William C. Ellis of the Long Beach Police Department said, "Uniforms have been a positive here in Long Beach. The feedback we get is that schools have fewer reasons to call upon the police department, there's less conflict among students, and the uniforms tend to equalize the playing field. Students concentrate more on education, not who's wearing $100 shoes or gang attire." 95% of school teachers polled believe uniforms promote positive learning environments and improve behavior. 21 states across the United States have public school systems that require uniforms, and many industrialized countries wear uniforms. Studies have shown that wearing school uniforms can improve the overall atmosphere of a school. As a military child myself, I have moved around quite a bit and gone to both schools that require and don't require uniforms. And now that I'm a little older and living overseas again in a very economically diverse country, I see the importance and value of implementing uniforms. Today I'll discuss conflict prevention, cost, organization, differing views on uniforms around the world, unity in schools, and personality over trendiness. So uniforms encourage discipline and decrease the possibility of violence among gangs or because of offensive designs, and they decrease the occurrences of dress code violations when you have something specific you are to wear. GreatSchools.org discusses how uniforms can help identify intruders faster. If someone doesn't have the proper uniform on, it will draw attention to them quicker. And BBC News reports that in the 80s, urban areas began implementing uniforms to try to resolve issues of kids shooting each other over designer sneakers, and uniforms gained support again during Bill Clinton's term in office, when during his State of the Union address, he stated that uniforms were an answer to the gang problem. And they also addressed that many people believed it would level economic inequalities and help provide an atmosphere where students would feel a part of something bigger than just themselves. And uniforms also cost less than the clothes kids want to have today. They decrease the pressures of wearing trendier brands to school and having the latest clothes all the time. OccupyTheory.org states that uniforms are becoming easier and easier to get. Uniforms are more and more available in stores and online, as well as directly through schools. And many schools are also including programs now for lower income families to obtain uniforms for a lesser cost if they need help. They have programs where former students can donate uniforms and they can give those out to students. And according to GreatSchools.org, uniforms can diminish economic and social barriers between students. A perfect example of this is the private school my brother attends. They have a wide mix of economic situations among their students, and they have students whose tuition is paid for by the military if their parents are stationed here, or by the company their parents work for, and they have kids who go there on scholarship, as well as students whose parents are well off enough to be able to pay for their tuition out of pocket. And the uniforms they wear help prevent their economic status from being the first thing they see about each other when they meet. And from my own experience here, going to work and riding the bus and seeing all the private and public schools here wear uniforms, I've noticed it kind of brings kids together. It makes the rich kids that are attending private school no different from those who go to public school. Uniforms also improve organization. They allow students more time to get ready in the morning because there aren't any hard decisions on what to wear. Once a kid puts on their uniform, they're in the mindset for school, and they're more likely to stay focused on school. Just like an athlete, when they put on their uniform and they're ready for game day, then they're going to be focused and ready to play and not thinking about other things. And About.com explains how uniforms can make mornings easier on parents, especially parents with younger children. Now their children can dress themselves because they know exactly what to wear, and their parents don't have to lay it out and make sure it's appropriate for school. They can just grab their uniforms and go. And uniforms are seen very differently around the world. In the US, they're generally seen as more of like a punishment than something that brings people together, which, according to the Huffington Post, whether you love them or hate them, when growing up, school uniforms have long been a subtle but important way to show membership of a community and pride of education. Outside the U.S., in many countries, in Africa specifically, school uniforms can be a source of pride. And here I've included a picture of school kids in uniform from Bolivia as well as Indonesia. And personality over trendiness. In today's society, there's a major movement on accepting and loving yourself for who you are, and I believe that uniforms can be a major element in this movement, because with the labels and designers out of the question, kids are able to let their personality shine through and not let their clothes speak for them, but they can speak for themselves. And studies have found that kids are more comfortable being themselves when they aren't worried about what they're wearing or what other people think about what they're wearing. And people that don't support uniforms may try to argue that, oh, you're forcing these kids to wear uniforms and it's taking away an avenue for self-expression. But that's not the case in many situations. This self-expression is generally a way to show off how much money you have, how nice your clothes, by showing how nice your clothes are. And not to mention that there are other ways to express your style while wearing a uniform. You can accessorize and do things with your hair, and it's up to you to accessorize your uniform. And uniforms take down the barriers between students. They can no longer look at someone and make a judgment based on the way they're dressed. It allows today's kids to get to know people that they may not have before, simply because they don't look like someone they normally hang out with. Now they just see another student, and they are more willing to go up to them and talk to them and get to know them, and they don't have this precursor that is keeping them from each other. And so through my research, I found that many students, along with parents and teachers, support uniforms. They are more than just required clothes. They are a way to unite students and encourage them to actively participate in their educations, and therefore I believe that the U.S., and as other countries have done, should implement even more schools wearing uniforms.